And we're live for another episode of Noah Talks. One of my best time of my day is when I get to talk and when I get to listen and hear questions. Because when I hear questions, I'm able to process them for myself. This is what other people are thinking, and it's what I'm thinking as well. So we're able to answer these questions as a group, and I find that to be a very satisfying activity when our days are filled with whatever they're filled with, answering questions, asking questions. It brings a bright spot to the day. So, there's a lot going on in the Twitter feed as always. Where is yesterday's poll? That's what I'm looking for. Let's see if it loads. I got some new toys coming this week, and obviously, you all see a new toy today. And the toys this week will bring better performance to the stream. So yesterday's poll was Ask Me Anything, 1inch exchange, DeFi recap, or liquidity pools intro. Oh, some good topics. James made it for the start in the house. James, Moon City Talk time. Ooh, ooh, it's exciting times. It's exciting times because there's actually opportunity when the general public is what's a good word? They're racing into equities, and that's not new opportunity. That is old ass opportunity. Uh, it's just I see so much risk. I don't trust the equities markets at all. I don't understand the risk reward analysis that folks are performing when they're buying Hertz, a bankrupt company, Chesapeake Energy, a bankrupt company. Absolutely crazy. Why are people buying this garbage? Um, the risk reward analysis is just don't touch it. So crypto, I personally feel, is much less risk than the equities markets. It's outside of the system. You're betting on startups. It's very exciting times. I got some questions already. Yes, Lewis is in the house. Gabriel's in the house. Digibite or Just Nibble. Everyone's in the house. The crew's in the house. Naked Eye says, with the Kyber Catalyst upgrade now just a couple of sleeps away, what are your thoughts on staking pools? Listen, I love everything about what Catalyst is doing with their upgrade is straight up consistent with my investment thesis, my philosophy. I want to accumulate assets and produce yield. The yield gets rolled into accumulation of the assets, producing more yield. That is how you grow wealth. I'm not looking to invest in an asset merely for appreciation. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a couple of one-off plays in my portfolio where that is the case, namely Digibyte. I firmly, but that is a very important topic because it's a fundamental UTXO protocol. Clearly, that's not the topic for today, but that is the reason for its presence in my portfolio. Lewis says, dude, you look like you're sitting in the bridge on the Starship Enterprise. I got new toys, Lewis. I got to get these eGPUs are coming that'll hopefully give me better performance, like scrolling and stuff like that while it's encoding and whatnot. Getting detailed, obviously. But suffice it to say, the topic everyone wants to hear about is liquidity pools. We'll start off with the not sponsor of the day, which is Ren, down in the right-hand corner. Ooh, everyone knows I love Ren, and clearly $10 million worth of people also love Ren. What are we at? $25.3 million in volume. Let's see what the weekly is. $11.7 million a week. Not bad for a piece of software that went live, mainnet live, a tad over a month ago. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So the whole point of Ren is to take Bitcoin, which is, you have equity in Bitcoin. It's the same thing as a house. You have a house, there's equity in the house. You can extract value from the house while retaining the house, while retaining the Bitcoin, and you can put it to work. You could do something with it because obviously we want to hold our Bitcoin, we want to hold our house. We want to because we believe it's going to appreciate in value. And these are incredibly important techniques. And this has been the case for how long? Can you get a home equity loan? It must be the better part of 100 years. But now we have a technological capacity to access the equity stored in our Bitcoin assets. And we take that equity and do what with it? We go to, we have Oasis. Oasis is probably, I mean, look, Aave, if it ever loads, it's a little slower for me, and you have Compound. So you're able to add your assets to these protocols, and Oasis, I think it's a 1% stability fee for WBTC right now. So obviously you have to use the WBTC cafe to convert your Bitcoin to RMBTC to WBTC. Let's take a crack at it. And what we do is Oasis, particularly mints DAI. Oasis is a fundamentally different protocol platform than Aave and Compound. Aave and Compound are uh, allowing people to borrow assets that have been pooled for lending purposes, whereas Oasis is actually minting DAI. This is where the actual DAI supply comes from. So what you would do is you go to borrow. You go to plus. This is my vault, but if you go to plus, and look, nowadays you have WBTC. You could actually use Kyber and 0x for collateral to mint DAI. It's a 1.25% stability fee, so you're paying 1.25% to actually mint DAI. How is my performance on the video? Oh, it's a little slow. I'm sorry. It'll get better this week. Um, so Kyber's got 4.25% and ZRX at 4.25%. I don't know who would put USDCB. I don't even know what USDCB is. Obviously, we know what USDCA is. That's another story. But we pay a little bit of interest for purposes of minting DAI, which is a bit of a home equity loan, so to speak. Absolutely fascinating. James wants to get straight to the point. What is the safest pool paying fat yields? Um, Depends on the strategy. So I happen to be very into synthetics. So synthetics, it's SNX is obviously the ticker. 1inch. You go to 1inch exchange. Loading, loading, loading. I need some new hardware. Well, it's loading at 9 frames per second. End of the week, it'll be better. It would be nice if I preloaded this. All right. Patience. Woosah. Okay, that's just horrible. I'll go back to it. All right, so you have SNX. You go to minter.synthetics.com and you're able to click the mint option. Why am I at 6 frames per second? It's so disappointing. 13 frames per second. Are you going to go up anytime soon? 8 frames per second. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. It'll get better at the end of the week, as I keep saying over and over again. All right, so you go to Mint, and what happens is, let me connect, if I could even connect. All right, slow systems. Um, maybe. I'd have to switch to my other ledger account. It'll take too much time. Okay, so you have your SNX, you bring it, you have it in your wallet. You set it in your MetaMask. You connect to your appropriate account that has the SNX. You come here, You enter an amount of SUSD you want to mint. And what you'll see is this requires 7.5 times as much SNX. So if you want to mint 100 SUSD, you need 750 um, SNX. And that'll give you a collateralization of 750, 7.5 to 1. Um, and you are not able to, let me close some of these. Maybe I'll get a little bit better performance. Nothing? No better performance? Let's close that. All right. Um, and then if you maintain your 750% collateralization, every week you go to the claim option and you're able to claim SNX and SUSD rewards. Exorbitant gas fees aside, this is about 40% interest, I believe, the last I checked. But what's fascinating is you have a position in SNX, and you are minting SUSD, and then you go over to Curve, and you have the SUSD pool. I find this to be the most fascinating DeFi hack, so to speak, because you're able to put SUSD in here, which, as you can see here, has a 19.62% SNX staking bonus. So once you add your SUSD to the SUSD pool, um, directly in the deposit screen, you can deposit SUSD. Always uncheck infinite approval. Let's say you mint 1,000 SUSD because someone's running around with a lot of SNX. You're able to deposit and stake directly in a single click on curve.fi. Now, technically, you could go over to Minter and you could go to LP rewards and you could click the Curve SUSD pool and you'll see your Curve LP tokens. Your LP tokens are what you get when you deposit SUSD into the pool. And then you could click stake tokens and you'll start to see accruing rewards. And that's the way this works. So you've minted SUSD, you're pooling the SUSD, you're getting, let's see how much percent. Go to the stats page. I think it's 6.25% the last I looked. You're getting 6.25% on your SUSD, getting about 20% in incentives, and the incentive being SNX, which you could use to mint more SUSD. So obviously you could see as you grow a large position in SNX, it's a growing revenue stream. All right, I haven't looked at the comments. Let's take a peek. Digital Egg. When yield farming for beginners, that would make a great series of videos. I like it. And I think as I get better hardware to do these videos better, I'll be able to click through screens faster, and I'll be able to load up my wallets faster, and I could actually show the interactions, what to click, how to click, why to click, so on and so forth. Traders pay 1% of the total market volume and fees, where 2% goes to the market creator and 8% goes to the 0.8% goes to the SNX stakers. Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely incredible. I think synthetics is a transformative, disruptive technology. They just launched binary options. I mean, we're talking about functionality that's this is what we've done in the legacy system for modern history. Now we're able to do it in in the crypto space. Absolutely fascinating. I think they're poised to disrupt the legacy system in time. And frankly, it's just very awesome technology now. This is the first trading feature that is always net positive for SNX stakers. They receive fees for enabling this feature and don't take on debt risk as you do with the spot market since. Oh, I mean, I love the details, and this is just obviously one component of synthetics that is absolutely fascinating. James says very sexy for an SNX holder. Yes, yes, it's a heck of a position. Look, SNX is at a dollar equivalent of $1.88. I mean, this thing was running around at 70, 80 cents probably about a month and a half ago, give or take. Absolutely incredible. The technology, these boys are cranking out these contracts. Uh, and it's not simple software. And it's very, you have to have a very smart brain to do this type of work. The boys at 1inch.exchange have built an incredible aggregator. What does always positive for SNX stakers mean, please? Well, I don't know what always positive means, but what's fascinating is the notion of compounding growth and accumulating assets that are producing yield. So I find it fascinating what you could do with SNX by minting SUSD. You pool it, the pool produces an incentivized reward that produces SNX, which you could then see the repeating cycle. Clearly, there's an inflationary component to SNX, which is going to be capped in 2023 to 2.5%. So that I am obviously very vocal about my interest in deflationary currencies, deflationary protocols. Uh, but I believe when a project overwhelmingly has functionality that either justifies it or is just so disruptive, it entirely compensates for the inflationary shortcoming. And that's exactly what they talk about in the documentation, the Medium post. And I think that's the case for SNX. And 2.5% in 2 years is relatively modest. It's more or less what the Federal Reserve's target is. If you take what they say, don't take what they say for a grain of salt, but that's another story. Um, so let's try and load up 1inch, because this is, fundamentally where to get stuff. Why? Why? Because you have Uniswap, you have Kyber, you have other liquidity providers, but 1inch is an aggregator. One inch provide a balancer, you have Bancor, but 1inch provides you a capacity. Let's try and close stuff down to get it to load. Yay, we have something. So as you can see here, the multi-split, Mooniswap, Oasis, Kyber, Uniswap, Balancer, Bancor, PMM, Uniswap V2, 0x, and AirSwap. So these are all liquidity providers. They're pools. So why the boys at 1inch are so smart is because their algorithms are able to, as you can see here, 100% is coming from PMM. But depending on your selections, you'll notice that you'll get portions of the transaction from different sources, and that produces an optimal transaction rate with minimized slippage, which is absolutely fascinating. I think what they've done is very meaningful. There's a couple, was it AirSwap, I believe, is another aggregator. There's a couple of other aggregators, but 1inch with their Chi token innovation is absolutely awesome. Uh, so what Chi token does is it substantially reduces gas costs. I've seen $50 transactions get reduced to like $3. So that's probably an interesting thing. It's very to show. It's very simple. You swap something for F. We swap something for Chi. So you don't need much. You need very little. You want to get like 20 Chi tokens. zero point 0.1. 20, 30. Take $20. Get some Chi into your account. All right, so you swap for Chi, grab 20, look, 104 of them, minor slippage. Then you click this little button right here, and you activate the Chi token. If you're using MetaMask, you can get a little MetaMask pop-up. You execute the transaction to activate Chi, and now, after Chi is activated, you are going to have something important to notice. Your MetaMask transactions will say $5, $10 in gas fees for the transaction. But then if you look at the transaction in Etherscan, you're going to notice no Ethereum was used in the transaction. You're going to notice that Chi was self-destructed. And the Chi obviously costs substantially less than than gas because it is storing information. It is storing gas, so to speak, when gas is relatively cheap to be used when it's relatively expensive. Look at this. I can get 104 Chi. At one moment there was zero slippage. That's really cool. So this is where you get your SNX. This is where you get everything. This is the place to swap your tokens. There's absolutely no reason to go on Binance or any exchange for that matter. This goes from your wallet to your wallet, from your hardware to your hardware. You are never depositing into an account, having to withdraw it at a later point in time. This is the decentralized exchange world. So 1inch is really the universe because it takes into consideration all of the protocols and aggregates the best possible rate. Uper says, I have 10K to invest in DeFi. Which projects should I consider? I am currently running one dark node and hold positions in non-DeFi projects. Now, I'm not a funds manager. I'm not a money manager. No one could, and that's the point of my show. The point of my show, what I really want to take home, what I want everyone to take home, is don't listen to people's advice. You have to not just make these decisions on your own, you have to ask questions that allow you to make the best decisions possible. And these are the questions I hope folks are asking. They have asked, and these are the topics of conversation I like to discuss. Look for recurring revenue streams. That's what I always say. You're looking for, I mean, SNX is producing a recurring revenue stream. You minting SUSD and you're getting part of the SNX platform's processing fees, KNC. When their protocol upgrade goes live on the 7th of July, I believe it's 65% of transaction fees stakers are going to receive. Search for yield. Look for yield. What else? What other? So Ren obviously is one heck of a yield producer. So if you accumulate, if it's relevant, and I obviously people are interested in what I hold, I have three yield producing assets: Ren, Kyber, and Synthetics. And obviously they're not relatively small positions. I do not spread too thin and never go all in. And I can't no one could tell you to choose one asset over another. It's a gut instinct that needs to come to be based on failures and experience. I've been in this since 2016. Clearly, I've gone through lots of loss, and of late, probably for the last year, it's a fair amount of gain. Um, don't spreading too thin is like looking for those moonshots, looking for small caps, and you have 10 of them or 20 of them, and if they go 1,000%, you've spread too thin. The 1,000% doesn't isn't going to mean much. And also, if you're going for the small caps, means there's maximize risk, maximize reward. My investment thesis is minimize risk as much as possible. I've worked way too hard for this value. I have no interest in taking on excess risk, which is essentially why I don't touch the equities markets. I don't trust it at all. It's a house of cards ready to collapse. I trust these crypto protocols much more. Um, Absolutely fascinating. Why? They're working on them constantly. Synthetics is in constant development. Kyber is in constant development. Absolutely fascinating. And look at the yield that could be produced. So there's clearly risk placing assets in these pools. Look what happened with Balancer. But bear in mind, what were the assets in Balancer? I've never heard of that stuff. I've what the heck were those assets where that incident occurred? I have no idea. I would never put value into assets like that. What was it called? Stonks? What the heck is that? Anyway, so stick to the top names. So this is another point. I don't really touch the micro mini caps. I prefer mid caps. I like something that has traction, that has proven itself. If something has a $100 million market cap and you got Chainlink running around 1.2 and Bitcoin running around at 170 billion, and maybe the market goes to a half a trillion or a trillion, and these mid caps, that's where the money is because and that's where the money is associated with a minimized risk profile. You have the maximized risk profile with the micro mini caps. Are they going to make it or are they not? A mid cap, You already know what kind of traction is going on. They've proven themselves to some degree. They have a user base. They have AUM, assets under management. I mean, look at Ren. It's got $10 million in pretty much Bitcoin under management. The VM, it's not by the company. It's software controlled, decentralized private key management, and also uh, well, I'd pull it up, but I think it's about $15 million worth of REN in bonds for the dark nodes. So that basically means there's $25 million in this protocol, 1 month since launch. Uh, I find that fascinating, and to me, that signifies traction. And those are the types of projects that I look for. Mid cap, 100 mil, give or take. It's going to be quite fascinating when we get to like $1 trillion entire crypto market cap, and the mid caps are all of a sudden a half a billion instead of 100 million, or a billion. Can you imagine the mid caps being a billion because the market has gotten so big? And these are absolutely things that can come to pass. Um, 1inch.exchange, oasis.app, curve.fi. I think these are the fundamental interesting ones. 1inch, you're able to get the assets you want. Oasis, you're able to access equity in the assets. Curve has a minimized slippage profile in their algorithms design. And also, all of the assets on the pool have equivalent value, which basically means, is it loading? Oh, it's loading. I got more parameters to adjust for the next stream. So they have equivalent value, which means there's no impermanent loss. Impermanent loss. So at 3 minutes, impermanent loss. Let's say you have Ethereum and Kyber. If everyone's rushing into Kyber, this is the balance of the pool. Um, and let's say then there's a bull run in Ethereum. You have much less Ethereum because the pool balance has been shifted towards Kyber. You miss out on all of those gains, and that is the impermanent loss. So that is what Bancor is attempting to resolve with their V2 protocol upgrade, and that's why it's so exciting what they're doing. Bancor is a perfect example of an asset that I wish to hold, but I do not hold because I'd spread too thin. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, and I have to live with myself because I myself have the FOMO, but I can't do anything about it. I have to stick to what I've concluded to be the appropriate course of action. Never go all in and never spread too thin. Ladies and gentlemen, 1228. We have one. Michael's got a question. What benefit does one get for holding Ren? Aside from a dark node, nothing. Um, Ren has the potential to appreciate in value, in which case you've entered into a position as a trader. You're looking for the asset to appreciate. You must set a target for liquidation. If it's worth $1 and it goes to $10, you need to sell, and then it goes back to $5, you need to buy. It goes back to $11, you need to sell. It goes back to $8, you got to buy, and that's what traders do. So this is why I like to talk on this stream about recurring revenue streams, where it's not, you could take your mind away from the asset's price valuation and you could focus on growing recurring revenue streams. And I'll continue to focus on that. And I'm very happy to rehash everything that I talked about today, especially going later into this week as I get better technology to do these live streams with, and especially as people have questions. Just because you asked a question, just because I covered a topic, let's go over it again and again. I believe DeFi is going to disrupt the legacy banking system in time. Clearly, it's a very microscopic market currently, but the technology in play here does exactly what a bank does. You're able to lend for yield. You're able to borrow. Now, this is banking 101. The difference is banks, or a centralized entity that did it, that do it in the legacy system. But nowadays we can do it. We could lend and get the yield instead of banks. Smash the like button, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I appreciate it always, James. It's let's jump on your stream. We'll have a good chat. It's always a fun time. I thank everyone for joining. I wish everyone a wonderful day. I will catch you tomorrow. Peace.